Hi guys, yeah, McGann, and welcome back to another episode of There I Read It, where I'm going over the Harry Potter books chapter by chapter for the first time ever in my life, and today we are on chapter 8 of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which is all about the Quidditch World Cup. And if you're new here, I am not a fan of reading about Quidditch. I think it's difficult to visualize, and I think it's hard to explain. So it's basically, here's a bunch of words, make it make sense for yourself. But to get into this chapter's notes, the stadium for the Quidditch World Cup could comfortably fit 10 cathedrals inside, and it had 100,000 seats. And Arthur's tickets for everybody were like the best seats in the house. They were right in the middle of the field, in the highest of the high box. They called it the top box. So they had to go up forever to get there. And inside, sitting at another seat sort of down the way from them, Harry thinks he spots Dobby. But the little house elf looks over and it's not quite Dobby. It's similar, but not quite. It's actually a girl, and her name is Winky. Like Wink-E. And she turns out to be Crouch's house elf, who was the guy hanging out with Bagman a chapter or two ago. He was the guy that knew all the different languages and was very serious. But Winky does know Dobby, and Dobby's in a horrible state. Harry should have never freed him because Dobby can't find a new job. And Harry's like, why not? And Winky's like, well, because Dobby has these crazy ideas in his head where he wants to get paid for his work now. And poor Winky is just like, I'm a good house elf. I do what I'm told. I don't even like heights, but I'm up here because my master wants me to save him a seat. But then other people from the ministry start coming into the box, so Winky hushes herself up pretty quick. And Cornelius Fudge, who is the Minister of Magic, he finally makes his appearance in this book, and he's with the Bulgarian Minister of Magic. And Harry is just a real prize pig that Fudge wants to show off. But then in come Lucius Malfoy with his wife Narcissa and Draco. And they got invited as personal guests of Cornelius Fudge because Lucius had just made a huge donation to St. Mungo's Hospital, which is specifically a wizarding hospital. And Lucius is just like all sneery and, you stupid Weasleys are here. Ugh. But other than just being kind of snooty, the Malfoys aren't really an issue in this chapter, at least. Then Ludo Bagman comes in. He's like, you ready to start, boss? And Fudge is like, sure, buddy. And Ludo points his wand at himself, goes sonorous, and then his throat, pretty much anything he says, is being projected to the entire audience in the stadium. So he's the announcer for the actual game, which Bagman does not seem like the kind of guy that you want to trust for that kind of thing, because I can see him slipping up and swearing quite a bit. And this is the 422nd Quidditch World Cup, and they're having this face-off of the mascots, and each team gets to bring these mascots out, which have to be a mythical creature from their homeland. And the Bulgarians go first. They send out Veela, Veela, and there's hundreds of them. And the boys aren't quite sure what they are, but they're very woman-like. And they start dancing, and Harry's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to throw myself out of this box to go down there and impress them, and I love them. So I guess they're kind of like sirens. Hermione didn't seem to be affected by them at all, but they're definitely bait for dudes. And then Ron's over there, like, ripping the clovers out of his hat because now he's all Team Bulgaria. And Arthur just reaches over, like, let me hold this for a minute, son. Then Ireland's mascot comes out, and there's this huge clover that's spitting actual gold everywhere. And the clover is made up of hundreds of little leprechauns. And I thought the gold was just like an illusion, but then Ron hands Harry a big chunk of gold and says, there, I paid you back for the omnioculars. How did they say that before? Omnioculars. Yes, I was on the right path. So now you have to get me a Christmas present. So it seems like that gold was legit and real. Then all of the team players came out, and I didn't write down all their names because I don't think they're all going to be important, but Lynch was the seeker for Ireland, and then Victor Crumb was the seeker for Bulgaria. Actually, it was Aiden Lynch, I believe was his first name. I didn't write it down, but I still remember it. Yeah. And so every time a team scores, their mascots kind of do something, and like the leprechauns would get together and form the words like haha or hee hee hee. And the Vila would do like angry dances and throw fireballs, and the Vila actually end up in trouble for seducing the referee. And it seemed like the angrier the Vila got, the more they dropped their sort of woman-like disguise. And so these beautiful moonshiny creatures with flowing hair actually had these very bird beak-like faces, you know, very pointed faces and scaly wig hair kind of thing. And Harry and Ron are like, oh my gosh. And Arthur's like, see, that's why you don't pick somebody based on looks. And that again is why Arthur Weasley has my heart. He's a good man. He is the best of men. And one of the neat things with the Omnioculars is that you can do play-by-plays where it will tell you what move different players did. So 2 times, the Ireland Seeker Lynch was dive bombing after a snitch straight down to the ground, and he crashed both times and knocked himself out. The first time he did it, he was following Victor Crumb down, who did a fake out to try and make Lynch crash, and that was called the Wronski Feint, where the goal is you trick the other team seeker and, you know, get them to hurt themselves. But, you know, Lynch was revived, he got on his broom, and then he dive bombed straight down again after the snitch, supposedly. But he actually did see the snitch the second time, even though Victor Crumb ended up getting it. So the final score was Bulgaria 160, Ireland 170. So Ireland won, but Bulgaria got the snitch. And the kids are like, oh my gosh, why would Victor Crumb catch the snitch when the other team was so far ahead? He should have let his team get some more points. But Harry just sort of automatically knew what Crumb was doing. Harry believes that Crumb's plan was to catch the snitch and end the whole match at a pretty kind of close call, you know, 160 to 170 isn't a huge gap. But if Crumb had let the snitch go and the game kept going on, he didn't have confidence that his team would catch up in the scoring. So Crumb would basically rather win a tight match than lose by a huge margin. Then both of the Quidditch teams end up in the top box where Harry is, and that's how they do the big, like, here you go, here's the World Cup. And I feel like they didn't spend enough time with that, and that the team would be sort of expected to interact more with the ministry, you know, the people in the box. But they didn't. The teams did their victory laps after they got the cup, and that was that. And poor Lynch is like hanging on behind somebody else because he's basically dying. And then as soon as everything has died down, oh shoot, I didn't write it down, but Bagman says something to shut off his speaker voice. Shoot, I thought I did write it down. I must have missed it. But as soon as he does, Fred and George are standing there with their hands out, and he's like, oh, right, I owe you money, don't I? Which I don't remember what quite their betting odds were. What did they say? Did I write it down? I don't think I did write it down specifically what the odds were that Bagman gave the twins, but they're going to be owed a fortune. Although, does it really matter with all the coins that the leprechauns were throwing at everybody? It's kind of weird how money is so important in the wizarding world and also so readily available. But oh my gosh, as far as the illustrated edition goes, we are on page 80 right now, and the real story hasn't even gotten started yet. And in some ways it's been kind of nice to just sort of bask in this world where there's not a lot of tension and drama going on. And, you know, we can just see things being regular and normal as wizards would experience them. I think if everything in this series, you know, if it was like the sun and the moon rose and set because of Lord Voldemort, it just wouldn't really be as interesting, and it wouldn't feel as rich or as full as it ends up being. But, I don't know, I kind of regret complaining in the Sorcerer's Stone that, man, you know, I feel like there's so many other things we could explore, and this book is just very focused on what is important, and that's it. But now that I'm having to read every word of it, I might feel a little bit differently. It's okay, though. I can get through this book. I can get through this book. I can get through this book. I hope. I'm not really sure. But I'm gonna end it here. I know that this was a short video for kind of a long chapter, but again, reading about Quidditch doesn't really give me a ton of interesting things to talk about. It's all feeling very technical for the most part. There's not a lot of, oh, well, we can read into this stare or that sneer. But I do think with Lucius Malfoy appearing, which of course he has to because it's a big event and he's a big rich guy, but I feel like that's foreshadowing something that's going to happen because like we saw, and I think it was the second book, he's got some interesting things going on behind the scenes that hasn't really come to surface yet. And I'm curious about it, and I'm hoping that this book will get to it more, but we'll see. I guess we'll see when we get there. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time with the next chapter. Bye! Well, Fanily members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that? Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Fanily. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Fanily and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, Fanily members.